Well, hello, friends, and welcome to a Time to Speak podcast, where we open up the conversation about the aftermath of abortion, give voice to unspoken grief and loss, honor our babies in heaven, and advocate for life and the preborn. Through powerful stories and heartfelt conversations, we create space to navigate this deeply personal journey together, offering support and the kind of encouragement that helps you move forward. Each episode is a step towards hope as we walk alongside you, reminding you that you're loved and never alone. Welcome to a Time to Speak podcast. This is an impromptu episode because I'm meeting my friend Cammie, and she's telling her story, and it's so good that I thought I'd hit record. So Cammie is telling us a little bit about her story. So let's just jump right in. Okay,
Yeah,
Cammie.
sure. Thank you so much. Like I in 2009, I had left my second marriage, and had been physically abused. It was just a mess. I had these three preteen, and they were preteen and teen kids. We were starting over, and it was a total God thing. It was actually February 23rd, 2009. So I'm coming up on my 3 days from now is my anniversary. Where
Oh my
we,
gosh.
yeah, I left and we just, all so many things. But in that time, on April 9th, 2009, we had been invited to a church that was like their first service in my little town. And me and my kids went, and it's just, that'll be 17 years this year, where my daughter's Sunday school director, my son-in-law's the youth just total life change. But in the
Wow.
meantime, my kids, were just obviously being loved on. I was kind of sitting back because I had a bunch of baggage,
Yeah.
and I had heard a radio commercial that was inviting some like ministers or ministry leaders or pastors to come to Heartbeats Center. It's a pregnancy affirming center, and to hear about their programs. I really kind of feel like I may have, like, maybe they said something about abortion recovery. I can't exactly remember,
Yeah.
because at that time, there's a lot of dissociation going on, like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah. Yeah.
clocked. So I went to that. I have vivid memories of that, which tell anything vivid is quite, in that part of the brain that holds the trauma. But I went there, and Janie spoke about, she just told her abortion story, like, just said it, and was like, and I, offer a pregnancy abortion healing group, 8-week group. And I went home. Actually, on the way home, I pulled over, and I still have it in a little spiral book. And I love, because I've read your book, like how you take all the notes. I have so many journal books too, like, just, you know, and I wrote on there, something about, like, my church is going to be, we are tackling the hard stuff. Like, we're not, so I kind of, I don't know if you call it prophesying, but I wrote it down. So I went through the group for 8 weeks, on my own. I remember, and it was just beautiful. These two ladies, and there was like four other people. I mean, I had never even been through anything even close to, I guess, what you would call therapeutic, just, oh my goodness. Probably, I mean, I clearly should have been in therapy probably since I was a teenager, but yeah, I'm a therapist now, so I get to work with teenagers. I appreciate that. But so after completing the group, I guess you could say, I met with my pastor and his wife, and just told him about it. And my pastor, he's awesome, but he just started, crying literally. And he was like, I don't know when it was exactly, but he said it had been prophesied that our church would have an abortion recovery ministry.
Oh my word.
And and he was just so sweet, because there's, like, in the Surrendering the Secret, there's a carabiner that everybody would
Mm-hmm.
link up, and I showed it to him, and it was shaped like a heart. Now I remember. And I showed him that. I don't think they make them anymore. And he said, oh my gosh, it's like the heart, but it's sort of, broken. He did. So
Oh,
I mean, that gave me, strength to say it. So I
yes.
went, I did do the training, um, and I started groups. I mean, goodness sakes, let me tell you what, you don't have to be healed to do the group. I was not. I've done so many groups now, and every literal time, There's more. There's always
Yeah.
more. There's always more
Yeah.
healing, always. But at that time, some of those memories of those first groups, I the first one I didn't have a post-abortive woman to be my co-leader.
Yeah.
And I prayed about that. A lady from my church. It was beautiful. I've done that two different times, and both times, and then since then, obviously, a lot of times, the women that have gone through the group, become my co-leaders here and there if they want to. Um, and then some of them come through multiple times. We've kind of developed more like a community.
Mm-hmm.
But the coolest part of this story, I think you'll like, is in 2015, I got married to my husband, Gene, who we've been married 11 years.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
Total God thing. We were in ministry together because he's a person in long term recovery. He had 22 years last Sunday.
Oh,
And
awesome.
yeah, we were doing jail ministry together just as friends, and I was not interested in anyone in recovery. I'd been down that road. But anyway, it's a God thing. So, but right when we got married, well, a little flashback. I had been to a ladies' conference in Columbus, Ohio. I'm in Ohio, and I had brochures for Surrendering the Secret with my name, phone number, and email. And I promise you, I leave those. Now I have cards. I leave them in restaurant bathrooms,
Good for
every because
you.
you just don't know, who's going
That's
to see it.
right.
But I had left that brochure. Well, I would. There was an adoption agency. It's called, I can't remember the name. It's with the UPCI Church, which is what I'm with. New Brave Beginnings, I think, or something. And they have an adoption service. And I was just talking to the lady because you just never know. And I said, well, I do this, and I had given her a brochure. So it was probably 2 or 3 years later when I got married. Thankfully, the phone number was different, but the email had stayed the same.
Yeah.
I got an email from a man. His son was the pastor of a church in Florida, and he himself is he's a counselor, and
Mm-hmm.
he ran healing groups in his church. And he said, "Hey, I contacted headquarters, and they said you do abortion recovery." And I'm like, "Yep, I do." He said, "Well, our church has 15 women right now that have revealed to me, which we know that's not uncommon.
Right,
40%,
right.
40% of women over the age
Mm-hmm.
of 40 have had abortions. I mean, but so they in August of 2015, they actually flew me to Florida, and I did
Oh,
a 3-day version,
wow.
3 days version with these women. I don't think they all showed up because that's pretty typical,
Sure.
but like an intensive. But what is so cool about that is, in the meantime, good old Facebook, which I don't do anymore, but at that time, there was a childhood friend of mine. You know how you connect with people you don't even know why, and I had put on there I was going to Titusville, Florida. I never said like why. You know what I mean? And so she had private messaged me and said, I live there. And I said, well, you do? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, I'm coming down. And so then I kind of felt like, I said, no, I'm going to be speaking the Wednesday night at church. And I just told her, what I was going there for. And so she had messaged back and said, yeah, me too.
Oh my
So
gosh.
she came. And then
Wow.
also, I think it's just really cool because I grew up in Southern Florida, and that is where I had my abortion.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had got, I kind of got to go back to where it
Yes.
kind of started,
Right.
like sort of,
Yes.
yeah. So that was
Oh my
neat.
God.
Yeah.
I mean,
It it's pretty
wow.
neat. And I try to now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but you'll kind of just live your life. And, I used to work in community mental health. I ran a women's rehab for a lot of years because I love, people in recovery, and love obviously my husband. But remember one time even just like having an assistant that, was like, what can I help you with? And I was like, well, this isn't for work, but can you, fold these brochures or whatever. And you just don't know who's going to say, hey, me, me.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like that's a God thing for sure.
It sure is. It sure is, Cami. I think like when we open our mouth and share about the truth of our past, that that the enemy always makes us believe that we're the only one and nobody will understand and will be rejected. But once we start sharing it, there's so many people that come forward because it gives them permission to say me too. I mean, I had the same experience where I heard somebody share their testimony at a conference, and I was just blown away that she would say it so publicly and so matter of fact. And so I totally relate to what you're saying, and that started my journey too. Just because I heard another woman share about the abortion that she had in her past, not even just one; it was multiple. And so I was like, wow, if she could do it, you know, maybe I could do it. Maybe. Oh, it just got the ball rolling. And so I just love that you share your cards and your contact information wherever you go, because people really do need it. People are so trapped in, the secrecy of it, the whole thing. And
Absolutely.
of course, the shame and stuff. So you're a therapist. What is your practice entail? Are you working with um, mostly women who have had abortions, or is it just a whole gamut of trauma-based type
Yeah,
things?
it's everything. Yeah, just a licensed professional counselor in Ohio that I'm in private
Okay.
practice, and mostly women. I don't, I'm thankful that I've done it long enough. I can kind of pick. I mean,
Yeah.
when my daughter's a baby therapist, and and I'm like, you have to kind of see everybody, and that's good practice, and
Sure.
everything. But definitely have gotten more, definitely women, and many times, without, not by any accident, it can involve abortion histories, sexual abuse
Sure.
history, they just all the things that go with
Yeah.
that for sure. But it
Yeah.
definitely, it can come up. It can come up, and I'm never surprised, for
Yeah.
sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you can kind of, you're probably seeing that correlation kind of play out, you know, the substance abuse or whatever's going on, and then suddenly, oh, and there's an abortion that's part of the story too. That's probably pretty common for you to hear, right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it just, I know I've read your book, so I know our numbers kind of add up the same, the years and stuff. Because it was the junior year, the summer before my senior year of high school, and my boyfriend at the time he lived overseas because my family had lived overseas. So I have never spoken to him again, so I don't know. Yeah, he's in another country, so I don't know if he would ever. But his grandmother had paid for him to come stay with us, like in Florida, and then he went back, and and I'm going to start my senior year of high school. You know what I mean? And yeah, I'm pregnant.
Oh my
So I
God.
don't have a lot of memories about it. It's interesting. Obviously, doing the groups, you more will come back because it's
Yeah.
just so wild how many similarities all of our experiences have. It
Yes.
is so incredible. Even the
Hmm.
lies that were told to us.
Yeah.
I literally, in your book, you said tissue. And I don't know if you've experienced this in your groups, but one of the main lies that I did a few groups, and I was like, wait a minute, we all heard that lie, and it was that, oh, you're not even 6 weeks pregnant, and we know for a fact they are not going to do the procedure unless you're, at least 8.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
because that way they know you're going to go back to the book and look. I don't want to be too, triggering to anybody, but yeah. But so that, and then my it was just, it was like, I remember looking in the yellow pages, like trying to find it, because my mom, I don't remember knowing I was, which is so weird. But years later, I have a younger sister, which of course we're old now, but she said that she had found a pregnancy test in my closet. I don't remember that. Don't remember that.
You mean like a paperwork that said positive?
No, like the actual like stick or whatever, I guess.
Oh, really?
I must have done a home one, I guess. I don't remember that. But so my mom,
Wow.
so yeah, I just remember my mom kind of coming to the bathroom door and saying, you're pregnant, schedule something. you know,
Oh my gosh.
I don't really even know how I knew what it was. Like I knew, I don't know, but I think I'm quite a bit older than you, but like I knew there were movies like I think maybe even like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I don't know. There was a couple movies in the 80s that there was like an abortion like kind of insinuated about, or I don't know if it was joked about. I don't know, because that's part of the I do my own abortion recovery thing that I wrote now, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, one of the questions is, like when did you first learn about how did you learn about what abortion even was? And it's so wild how a lot of people are like, I don't know, like feel like someone said, it's like we just how we knew. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
so it was, like so many people's stories, just so easy, just not easy, but not. And our stories are really close. And you go back home. I mean, like just, you just, and then you just go about your life. And I seriously never thought I was married for 18 years, had the three children, he never knew. Of course, a doctor, you go to the doctor and they're like, how many live births, how many abortions? Well, you never say. You
Yeah.
don't say.
Zero.
Yep, zero. That's a zero. Yeah. So, kind of, I mean, obviously, to say all that, to say it's obviously was a God thing,
Yeah.
because it wasn't until I got to know him, that it was like, hey, by the way, um, I see all this that's healed in you. Can we talk about that? It's like, no, we're just going to forget about that. You know what I mean? Forget about that. Forget
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
But
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. Wow. Yeah, I mean, even as we're talking right now, it's like you just can't even believe it. You're like, how did I fall for that? How was it so easy and so casual and so, okay, that's done. Lock the door, close it, lock it, and goodbye and move on. And even now, Cami, to talk about it with you and to hear your experience and how similar all of our experiences are, it's just wild to hear it being spoken back. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know. It's funny to think like that was I did that. That was me. It's just so wild, the whole thing,
it is, and it's
when
so
when
the
your eyes are
similar.
open,
Oh yeah.
it's crazy.
It is, I even, admit, because I'm always want to be brutally honest and raw for anyone that hears me or whatever, is I can even remember, probably at a job somewhere along the line, probably had the kids, they might have been younger. I can even remember a conversation where someone was talking about, oh, if my daughter got pregnant, I'd take her to get an abortion. And I remember even saying, yep, so would I. Because at the time you don't feel like you can speak for babies, because you
Yeah.
don't feel like you deserve to like stand up for
Or
anything.
we don't even know that we're supposed to. Like,
Right. Well,
I
right.
know, exactly, exactly. But tell us about your book, because I didn't know that you wrote a book.
Well, in 2010, I wrote a book called Break Every Chain. It's like a 21-day journey to recovery based on, I don't know if you remember the Love Dare book. And I just really, God inspired me on that. Different people helped me write it. My husband actually wrote, I think, day 17. We just knew, we barely knew each other, like I didn't
Yeah.
like, so that's kind of nice. And it's just through, Amazon, I did that. And then, in in 2018 or 19, I think, when I graduated from grad school, I wrote something called Mended Healing Damaged Emotions. And it's a little workbook. We use it at my church, like I do groups. And it's
Yeah.
more just, people with abortions are in that, but all the things, are
Yeah.
there. And so I
Yes.
had done that. So my thoughts have just been like, well, I need to write, I call it held, during recovery journey through abortion. Because I don't know if you've heard the Natalie Grant song Held, to be
Oh,
held.
yes.
Oh, I love that song. And
Yeah.
yeah, so not really, I guess you could just say it's a work in progress.
Yeah, yeah, good for you. Good for you. I mean, you've learned so much along the way. You have a lot of experience and just kind of putting all those tools together and sort of, working them out because it's literally a work in progress because you're actively, honing it. So I'm really excited to see when that's finished. I mean, that's going to be awesome, but it's working for you, it's working for your church. Your church is completely open to it. Wow, what a blessing. you
Yeah.
know that's
Yeah.
really really cool. um are you taking new clients these days?
Not so I'm only licensed in the state of Ohio,
Hmm.
which they're pretty, and so limited. If there's anyone in Ohio
Hmm.
that is in our group that we never wanted to be a part of, you contact me. I will make sure
Yes.
we I get
Yes,
you. Yeah,
we'll put your contact information for people
sure,
that are in
sure.
the Ohio area.
Well,
So
I
thank you
gotta
so
say,
much.
I just for a second, thank you so much for your when my piece of art came, I waited like 10 days to open it. And I just was like, because once again, I was like, no, I feel like I need to have people with me, And the Lord was like, no, you don't, because I have lots of people. My children, oh my gosh, they're just so wonderful. They all know of, you know what I mean, like they've supported, but that piece of art. And then with my last group, the young lady, she got hers and she brought it to our Valentine breakfast. I don't know if you saw that in the picture that I shared on Instagram. And that is just, oh my gosh, what a I just because it's like mine is right next to my bed
Oh, that's
every
so
single day,
sweet.
every single day. And that was just, oh my goodness, probably one of the most healing activities. Writing that card. I mean, I was like, what on, like I don't even know. I just had to do it because I was like, I'm not going to do it if I don't do it.
Yeah.
But that is a beautiful, I really hope more people need to know about that, or
Yeah.
your book, your book's beautiful too. So all the
Yeah.
things, I just had to
Yeah.
say that.
Oh, thank you, Cam. Talk a little bit about that as a therapist. What the benefits are of writing that letter. Talk a little bit about that, just with your therapist hat on. And
Sure, sure.
I think people don't, they kind of undervalue the power of it and what it does.
Absolutely. I'm a somatic therapist, so for sure, I'm an expressive arts therapist, certification, all the things. And it's the things that we do with our body that really make a difference, especially with trauma, because I can intellectualize, you could probably tell, I can sound all smarticle and everything. And, but if I get down into the body, and writing is actually movement. I mean, I almost would say I almost have to beg my clients. I'm like, just try it, please, because we can sit and talk for years. But if you get in there and move and talk, or create and talk, or think about, and that I think that's biblical, lamenting to God. Those things were done with a posture on your knees or your arms raised.
Yes, yes.
It's all body based. So
Yes.
definitely, and really, even in the healing groups, having
Hmm.
the journaling exercises is
Yes.
key. I mean, even for people writing, when I was in my group, I had to write out my story. I had never,
Yes.
never, never done that.
Yeah.
Never. And
Right.
yeah, since then I've written it many, many times. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think that's all part of, stay locking it down just in
Hmm.
your memory, and not, don't drop down the 18 inches to your heart,
Yeah.
stay up here.
Mhm.
Yeah. So very,
Wow.
very important. I mean, it's really it's very, and that's why I think even with church, with praise and worship, and
Hmm.
all the things is all that's trauma healing to me 101.
Yes. Yes, it sure is. Oh my gosh. That's amazing, Cami. Thank you so much for sharing that and just appreciating the whole process of it. It's so refreshing and it's healing for us too to hear those types of words and your experience. And it kind of continues to not just validate but confirm that what God has put before us, that we're we're stewarding it the way He wants. And so that's super important to us. But thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, it's so important that I really think, like in our church services when we have, um, it's a Pentecostal church, so it's a lot of music, a lot of, and the times when we would have just breakout church, just Holy Spirit, and I could look around and be like, I know for a fact there's 6 women in here,
Yeah.
that have gone through healing group, and so I know we just carry it with us. Yeah, for sure. It's a big
Wow.
one. It's a big one because people, I don't know about your churches, but they'll talk a lot about addiction, and
Yeah.
which they should. But
Hmm.
you want to really kick the devil in the face. Talk
Yeah.
about that silent ministry that
Oh, yeah.
that that people are afraid to, and it because it happens in churches.
Yeah.
What
Yes, it
better way
does.
for no one to know?
Right.
No one has to know, and that's not good either. But yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. What would be a key takeaway to share with people when they're kind of at that place where, um, wow, I don't know if I can maybe even trust someone enough to tell them. What would be like a good first step for someone that's kind of on that edge, like I know I've got to deal with this finally, but how do I take the first step? What would be a key takeaway for someone?
Yeah, I just say it cautiously that, just from working with so many women, I want to say tell someone you trust, but just I'm always going to be honest. You don't know. You just don't know what people, they may be the most wonderful person, but
Yeah.
depending, so that's why I do like the lived experience.
Yeah.
There's post abortive women groups. I would
That's right.
probably reach out. It is a unique thing that we have. Like I say, I think in Surrendering the Secret, one of the videos says it's the club none of us want to belong to, like I said, but yet
Yes,
here we
yes,
are.
that's right.
But also just with God Himself, like it is so scary to be vulnerable with Him, but He wants the real lamentation only, and that is so scary. I get it, I do, but I think even just start worshiping Him and learning about Him, and I think it will happen naturally. That's kind of what happened with me. I had no intentions,
Hmm.
but it was as I got to know Jesus that it was like, oh, okay, all of me. You mean
Right,
all of
exactly.
this mess? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I think that's a good point that you mentioned, Cami, is like we're typically told tell someone you can trust, but you're right. You never know what the response is going to be. And I think that's the beauty of so many groups being out there, so many women who are out open and sharing about it. I think that's always a safe bet because you know what you're going to get. And sometimes it's easier to tell your story for the first time with a stranger. You know,
Yeah.
they
True.
don't know
Yeah,
you, they
in a
don't
group,
really
I
know your
did.
past. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know any of those, but I knew, it was nice. My leaders shared theirs first.
wow.
So you're like, yeah, it's pretty neat. But yeah, the only reason I bring that caution up because I don't want someone to get another wound
Oh,
from,
sure, of
you know,
course.
being
Yeah,
shunned or something,
yeah,
perhaps out of the
exactly.
blue. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's the biggest fear is to be rejected by those we love,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was terrified to tell my daughter about it. I was just like, and my son, of course, but yeah, we just are so fearful of being rejected by someone that we love,
For sure.
and um, and it's okay. Everyone's on
Yeah.
their own journey, and but yeah,
Yeah.
um,
And
it,
they may not get it. And that's why it's important, to do that healing work with God and other
yeah,
women, because, or men. I love that
mhm,
your book, because honestly, my husband, so the day I went to meet with my pastor and his wife, My husband just happened to be there. I mean, we were just ministry partners. I go to the jails and stuff. So I would be with the women, though he'd be with the men. So we're very separate but I was standing there. It might have been when I came out of the meeting, and he was kind of standing there. And my pastor said, Sister Cam, we call each other sister, but he said, Sister Cammie is going to start an abortion recovery ministry. And my husband said, yes, that's part of my story too. I was direct, and he'll tell you, he's out there, he'll tell you he had never, ever said that. And it was because I said it right there.
That's right.
He said it.
There you go.
There it is. Go. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow. It's interesting that our stories are very similar.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
God is amazing, isn't he? I love how he orchestrates things and just sets things up, and probably just sits back and chuckles when we're making the connection.
Yeah, I just think it's a miracle that I make the connection, and I'm just glad he does it, because on my own, it's not going to be pretty.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh, Cammie. Wow. This has been really incredible. So we'll go ahead and say goodbye, and you can stay on because we'll just continue. But thanks so much for joining us, and thank you, Cammie, for being our guest today.
Thank you very much.
Whether you're on a journey of personal healing or seeking to understand the experiences of others, A Time to Speak podcast offers a space to reflect, grow, and be reminded that you're not alone. Join us next time as we embrace the power of hope, healing, and transformation that only comes through Jesus. To get involved and learn more about our project, visit us at thetributeproject.com and see how you can make a difference in the lives of others.